All right, TSL, let's rock this thing out. Welcome back or welcome to another edition of the Sales Life. And the sales life is just not for those in the sales profession. It's for those who are building the life skills of selling, because selling's not just a profession, man. You have to take some of the skills because, dude, we're selling our way to, through, and from something all of our lives. The fact that you got the job, the raise, the boo, all of the accomplishments that you've had, man, is due to your sales ability. And so no matter what your situation is, man, no matter how low or how high, you can always perfect those skills, make those skills better. So to do that, man, you got to take what I call the vitamin C's, man, the 8 supplements. And those skills are the skills of being a better communicator, connecting, using curiosity, creativity, continuous learning, consistency, coachability, and being able to handle the criticism. You take those skills that we learn by profession, but you can still take those things and apply them to your personal life as well. Because I say sales is life, life is sales. Ta-da! That's why I call it the sales life. Dude, I'm so excited about today's episode. Today's episode is probably, in recent memory, one of my most favorite episodes. I ain't even talked about it yet. Now, if you're watching this live, man, be sure and leave your comments below. When I get through the whole the whole message this morning, I definitely want to give you a shout out. So if you're watching this live on Facebook, on YouTube, we are streaming all the way across, and also Periscope. And if you're also, I've launched this as well, or this new episode is out on the Sales Life podcast. So you can find that on Apple Podcast. You can find that on Stitcher, on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. And dude, we're marching towards 600 episodes on there. I guess I miscounted, because on the count, man, it's like 500, episode 599. To me, I think this is episode 592. So we're just going to roll with that. So the podcast is recorded separately from the video, subject to change. But I do that because it's a little bit more of a conversation. So even though you may watch this on the video, I try to streamline the video a little bit quicker because I know people got to get on with their lives. And with the podcast, you can prime your mind while you're going to work. Hopefully you're not watching this video while you're driving to work, but while you're jogging, whatever the case may be. So that's why the podcast is a little bit different. But let's roll out with today's episode, man. Today's episode is one of my favorite books so far. Dude, I'm like 20% into this book, which is Matthew McConaughey's book, Greenlights. And I've always been a fan of Matthew McConaughey. I just like his soulful swag to him, man. He's just got a cool nature about him. And so I just started this book, and you know it's a good book when you stop and you say, number one, I was listening to it. I immediately ordered the physical book, and then it's 20% into the episode, into the book. I said, bro, I got to roll out with an episode. It is that good. And I hope it just gets that much better. If you've ever wondered if you can give a rooster mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, read the book, man. It's a wild ride. And dude, I'm like early in I hadn't even gotten into his adult phase of his life yet. But dude, we're going to pick up on his senior year, man. And well, let me back up a little bit. Why the book? First thing when I saw the title of the book, Greenlights, why is that called Greenlights? And so here's a great analogy of what Greenlights means. Matthew McConaughey writes, he said, when it comes to green lights, when it comes to the flow of traffic, green lights, if you can sync them right, dude, you can hit a bunch of green lights in succession, but you have to have that speed just right. I remember growing up, man, I had a doctor neighbor who lived right next door to me. And I remember him telling me one time, he said, Marsh, he said, I can leave my house, and by the time I get on the main road, I'm from Ruston, so it's a small place. But he said, by the time I get on that main road, I can sync the lights up just right and drive to the hospital, Lincoln Memorial Hospital. And he was an ethicist. And so he could sync the lights and hit the flow, and he would never hit a red light. And I remember, I don't even know what we were talking about, but I remember him telling me that. And I thought that was interesting. And then here it is, I don't know, 3-4 decades later, I read this in Greenlights. So McConaughey writes, he says, when it comes to the traffic flow, the more green lights you catch, green lights mean go. And the more that you can catch, man, the better the flow for you. He said in life, he said, green lights are this. He said they're approvals, supports, promises, gifts, the gas on the fire, attaboys, appetites, cash money, birth, springtime, health, success, joy, sustainability, and fresh starts. He said, we love green lights. But he said also green lights can be disguised as red and yellow lights too. And those red and yellow lights are cautions, detours, thoughtful pauses, interruptions, disagreements, indigestion, sickness, and pain, full stops, jackknives, interventions, failure, suffering, slap in the face, and death. He said, we don't like yellow or red lights. He said, they're hard, but they give us what we need. Green lights are all about skill, intent, context, consideration, endurance, anticipation, resilience, speed, and discipline. And he said, we can catch more green lights simply by identifying the red lights, where the red lights are in our life, and cause to have fewer of them. He said, we can also have more green lights through force of will, through hard work, and the choices that we make. That's the title of the book. I ain't got into the meat of what we're going to talk about today. That's just why he named it Greenlights. And I'm like, oh my God, the green and the yellow light, the yellow and the red lights are disguised as green lights. And you need some of those hard pauses in life. You need some of those failures in life to set you up for more green lights. And all throughout the book, man, he talks about a time that he failed and he'll call it a green light. Green light. He'll talk about a time like his senior year. Senior year, dude, he was riding high. McConaughey was a straight A student, a great golfer, voted most handsome. So he had all the chicks, man. He had his pick of the chicks. And, he said, I was chasing green lights. Back to the book, he said, I was the guy who chased the girls. I was the guy where all the guys came to the party and stood around. I was the guy who danced. He said, I was the guy who made my way to the front row of the concert, no matter how late I got there. Quote, I gave effort. I was the fun guy. I barked out compliments. He had this megaphone that was built into his little 4-wheel drive truck. And so he would bark out all these compliments to all the pretty girls as they would pass by. He would get on there and mic it up, man. He said, I was the fun guy, man. And he would take all the girls mud riding after school. And one day he was passing by a Nissan dealership and he saw a red 300ZX with T-tops sitting right out front. And he thought to himself, he said, oh my God, what would my life be like if I had that red T-top 300ZX? So he pulled in. And he ended up trading in his 4-wheel drive pickup truck for that red sports car. And dude, that car was his baby. That car was his baby. And so every Sunday, man, he was washing and waxing it and just, getting it all ready for the week that was ahead at school. And so when he would pull into school, man, he would park way in the third parking lot, way away from everybody else. And he would get out with his handsome looks, man. He would get out and he would just lean on his car. He was Mr. Cool. And when school was out, he would come back and he would lean on the car. And he said as a few weeks passed, he noticed something. He said, the chicks aren't digging me much anymore. I'm going on fewer dates. And it seems like they lost interest. And they're mud riding with other boys. They're not even paying me any mind. And then he realized, oh my God, I lost my truck. I lost my effort. I lost the hustle. I didn't have the megaphone. I didn't have the mud rides. And I lost the fun because I was too busy leaning. By his own admission, he writes, I'd gotten lazy. I was looking in the mirror far too long. And I relied on the sports car to do the work for me. And it was doing a shitty job. So immediately, recognizing that, McConaughey went right back to that dealership. He traded that sports car back in, and he got his old truck back. Parked back in the first parking lot. Was back on the microphone. And was back mud riding again. Having fun. Matthew McConaughey was back chasing again. I had a lady the other day, man, that I was signing up. And she said, you want to know the reason why I'm buying from you guys? She said, because the salesman that's working with me, out of all the dealerships that I went to, he was the only one who stood in the pouring rain. And I even offered him my umbrella, and he said, no, ma'am, I'm good. And she said, Marsh, he stood there, listened to what I needed, and he found the car for me. And ironically, man, that salesperson's new. There's no shock there. He's new. He was on the chase. See, he had that pickup truck mentality. He gave the hustle, and he gave the effort. How many veterans still have a pickup truck mentality? Very few. And there are so many veterans of success that have traded in the pickup truck for their red sports car. And see, that's the fallacy of success. You work hard to get all the nice things with the big paychecks. But when you do, you lose the chase because you lost your hunger. And you're relying on what you have to do all the work for you. You lean and expect all of your accomplishments to keep paying dividends. You've gotten lazy. You looked in the mirror of success for far too long, bro. You lost your momentum because you lost your edge. You're not willing to do what rookies do because you don't have that pickup truck mentality. See, if it's pouring down rain, you're the first one to say, I ain't doing that. When someone asks you to do a job that's not even on your job description, you say, I ain't doing that. The grunt work that you did back in the days that got you to where you are today. Oh, you're in a sports car. You're in that sports car mentality. You say, I ain't doing that. To stay another hour later, I ain't doing that. You refuse to do what it took to get to where you are today. And that's what's difficult, man. Because when you have the results, will you still have the chase? Because you got to remember, man, those results, they come from past effort. And you're going to give all of those results and then some. You're going to give it all back because you got that sports car mentality. And you don't give that blue collar effort. Case in point, the other day, hurricanes have ravaged, so when COVID hit, I lost the gym. The gym shut down that I normally go to. So I delayed. I finally went to another gym. Got into that gym. Hurricane hit. Wiped that gym out. It's knocked out. Delayed. Finally found a little hole in the wall gym I'm at now. And the other day, dude, I'm going in there and I've lost 70 pounds. Look good in the mirror. It's good. It's cool. Still got the little rips. Can still see my veins. All good, right? And I realized, man, when I got back in the gym, I was walking in with a sports car mentality because I was only using the weight that caused a little bit of grunt, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It didn't hurt. I didn't reach fatigue or failure. And I'm going to give all those results back. Because see, dude, you have to work every single day with that pickup truck mentality. And that means that some days, dude, you got to load the bar. That means every day, hell, you got to load the bar. That means some days, dude, you got to lift to fatigue, to failure. You have to do things that you hate to do, yet you love the results. Because see, dude, you can't grow until you fail. And if it don't hurt, it don't count. So I'm bringing that pickup truck mentality back to the gym, to the weights, to the everything I got. And you need to also. You got to get your truck back, man. And if you can't, if you're sitting there scratching your head like, man, I can't figure out why nothing's coming together, it's probably because you're driving around in that sports car in your mind and you've lost that pickup truck mentality and you ain't got that blue collar effort no more. So get your pickup truck back, man. Go back to the basics. It'll always be about the basics. Never forget that. So cliche, but it's so true. Park in that first parking lot. Get back on that microphone. And don't lean anymore. Be on the chase. Give the effort. Be all about the hustle. Remember, the greatest sale that you'll ever make is the sale you own you, because you're more than enough. Thanks so much for tuning into the Sales Life. Caleb, thanks, man. Thanks for being on here. Also, if you're just watching this, if you're watching this on the replay, be sure and leave me a hashtag of TSL so I can give you a shout out. Also, what's your takeaway on this as well, man? I want to hear from you. And as well, one more thing, be sure and share today's episode, man, if you got some value out of it. Someone needs to hear this message. Someone's riding around with a sports car, and we got to get that truck back, man. This is also on, just released it also on the podcast version. So it's on that platform. A little bit different version, but I urge you to listen to it, share and subscribe to it as well. So with that, stay amazing. Stay in the sales life.